Football with friends. It's fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap. Oh gosh, man, how pumped I am to be here with you guys today. Coming off of a national championship game that left me feeling on giant tilt. We'll talk about that. Oh, hey, so happy to see everybody here in the chat, man. We got all you guys in here. I'll say what's up in a minute, but first, a quick rundown of what we're going to have on the docket today. Of course, we're going to have the theme of the day: best game show. I've seen a game show. There are game shows that are coming out these days. I feel like there's a game show renaissance going on right now. I'm going to tell you about some of my favorite ones that I've been watching lately on cockamamie primetime television. Let's see here. We have in the chat, Doug Grotzchik is the first one in. Great to see you, Rodolfo, Jonathan Sturrock. Let's see here. Gringo Horn, Sark After Dark, Jay Ward, Harish is in the chat. Money B, so good to see you. Banks, great to see you guys, man. We have Bama transfer linebacker Kendrick Blackshire set up to visit Texas. Is he any good? We'll talk about it. With the what's his name? It's Silas Bolden. Silas Bolden, this guy, this receiver out of Oregon State, looks like he'll be visiting Texas along with 3 other schools. Does Texas need him? We'll talk about that. I have some thoughts on the national championship from yesterday. The Titans fire Mike Vrabel. I just gosh, we have a polar vortex that's going to be coming and hitting Texas. Or have you made your preparations yet? I'll talk about what I'm going to do with that stuff. Dude, I was reading Catch's 10 thoughts from the weekend, and I noticed some of the guys, like most of these guys that have hit the transfer portal recently for Texas, aren't doing much. There's one guy that's that I just didn't expect to see apparently going ham. We'll talk about him, and also just to start out the show. So we'll talk about just quickly hit on this. Don't need to belabor it, but some changes coming here on the channel after learning a lot this football season about what people like and about what people's viewing habits. So some changes sort of coming here. So I can tell you this much, and I don't know exactly what's happening with everything, but I do know that Football with Friends, this show, starting next week, is going to be moving to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday format. That'll be happening at 2 p.m. Central. So the show will be on 2 p.m. Central, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to be getting out probably at around, within the hour. So it'll go from a 2-hour format to a 1-hour format. That gives me the ability to, just do stuff with my kids and stuff after school and everything. And plus it works with the new schedule of everything else. And then, but you won't be hearing from me only on those days, because the good news is, drum roll, please, we're bringing back the Modcast. So the Modcast, the most popular show that we've ever had here on the channel, is going to be on Tuesday and Thursday with me, Catch, Onmore, and Jason. That'll be Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. So I'll still be on here every day. I still have a daily commitment to this. But Football with Friends, this show, 2 p.m. starting next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then I'll be on the Modcast Tuesdays and Thursdays with the boys. So you're getting the same amount of coverage. It's just we're sort of splitting up the shows to I don't know why, but it's like we're just splitting up the shows. It's the same amount of content, but just the shows aren't going to be quite as long. And so hopefully you guys like it. All right. Other than that, all right. So about thanks. See, Sherman, kids don't need you. They could probably move without me. Kids are replaceable. Are you kidding me? Blake, what do we have here?
I don't know if you've seen this yet, but people have been asking where Quinn Ewers is. Like, why hasn't he posted something? Well, he's been pretty busy taking down this monster whitetail.
Oh my God. Well, I'm not sure that was a free range whitetail just walking around somewhere. Do you think that's a free range deer, or do you think that's a high fence deer?
Let me look at the other pictures. My initial thought was that it was free range.
A Tasco.
He shot it with a bow.
If he shot that thing with a bow, free range, he's goated forever.
He shot it with a bow.
Man. If he should, dude, what is Atascosa County? As Tascosa County, where is that?
Let me see it.
Atascosa. I should know that. Oh, Kyle Lesak says it's known for big low fence deer.
I bet it's a low fence.
It would. I mean, just then he's a goat. I've never seen a deer like that ever walking around just in, and I don't have anything against high fence. I have nothing against high fence hunting.
Oh yeah, dude, that's down south a bit. Way south of San Antonio.
They have those big. I mean, they talk about those big South Texas bucks. It's wild because it seems like they. I mean, what do they eat? Just those they eat mesquite, those little mesquite beans and stuff. I mean, prickly pear. It feels like down there it's so scrubby that. I mean, I just don't understand how unless they're getting supplemental feed from somewhere, protein feeders, what it is that they do. I guess it's probably just in their genetics. They have those huge racks. They're probably not. Are they bigger bodied deer? They must be.
It probably depends on the specific region. I know there are areas of South Texas where there are just massive deer, and other areas where there aren't just because of the vegetation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you for bringing that up. Gosh, that's what a hammer. Quinn's a goat, dude. Can you believe that? Kyle Lesak saying it's pronounced Atascosa. Cody saying no way. That's free range. I mean, it could be.
There are deer that are way bigger than that are free range.
Dude. Then the next time we get like an availability with Quinn Ewers, why didn't somebody get to the real questions and ask him if that's a high fence deer?
You know what you need to do, Alex? You need to go.
I probably
need to go to the next Quinn Ewers.
You know what, man? Do you know what I'm going to plan on doing this year? Is going to the SEC media days.
Oh, definitely.
I was saying that's going to be a bunch of fun. It's going to be in Dallas or Irving or something like this.
Yeah. It's up there in DFW.
Yeah. So I'll be going to that. I don't know I think they bring a couple players. That'll be my chance to ask Quinn if that's a high fence deer. I don't want to insult him. Okay. Let's see. Kyle Lesak saying the scrub brush has high protein in the leaves. Okay. And also they get supplemented by the feeders and the protein stuff. Okay. So just quickly wanted to talk about Vrabel. I don't understand. And look, we have plenty of Longhorn stuff to talk about, but let's just get out of the way about Vrabel. Cause it's just, why did the Titans do this? I think that the only, my general philosophy is the only time that you fire a coach, and this, I don't think that this is anything that's going to be completely groundbreaking or that's going to blow anybody's mind or that's something completely out of the blue. This is not a crazy theory you've come to know from me here. If you fire a coach, you got to think that you can get somebody better or at least somebody as good, right? Vrabel has had a couple rough seasons, but to me, man, it's like They fired John Robinson for being a bad GM, right? Middle of the season. Now, I think it also sort of had to do with the fact that there was the alleged when they were flying home and he got pulled over for some kind of driving under some kind. I don't know, whatever. There was something like that, and it's like, well, where did he went right home from the facility. So was he boozing on the plane, like on the home or something? Like, so I think there was some of that kind of flying around about JR, but or J Rob, but I do think that the personnel for the Titans has been bad. They've done a bad job with everything. And I heard Mike Florio talking about this, and it rang true to me too, because I remember when I was covering the NFL draft, I believe it was the one in Las Vegas, whenever they made the trade of pick 12 or whatever, or they got pick 12 from the Eagles, and they sent AJ Brown, and they went and got another receiver. They went and got Treylon Burks with that pick, and they could have paid AJ Brown, and they've done the dumb stuff like paying Derrick Henry. They've never invested in the offensive line at all until just last year with Skoronski and all the rest. They never did anything to plan for the massive cliff that Taylor Lewan was falling off of. The secondary has been awful. He's I guess besides Byard was good there for a while, but they've made bad decisions there. They've had some good hits along the defensive line, and you're just like, man, this team has been so bad. They've had bad
they've had Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill as his quarterbacks.
Yeah, and Malik Willis for a lot of games, and Levis, and as a that's only been this year, but
and he took them to the freaking conference final. Like
he was like a 1 seed one year. Like, I mean,
yeah.
are you? I mean, Vrabel's going to be probably the hottest. Well, I mean, Harbaugh will be the hottest coach on the market, I would guess. And we'll talk about Harbaugh here in 1 second. And
Who would you rather have?
I mean,
Like if you're the New England Patriots.
well, would you? But would Vrabel go and take that job right from under Belichick?
I don't know.
I kind of don't think you would,
Probably
unless
not.
Belichick gave his blessing and said, "Go for it, man! Like keep the Patriot way going."
So what's another one that's the Los Angeles Chargers?
I mean, Falcons, Commanders, there's a lot of interesting stuff. I think that speaking, but I truly don't get it. I was flabbergasted. I was like, are you kidding me? If I were them, I mean, and they're keeping Rand Carthon. They're keeping it just goes, dude. They don't know what they're doing. I mean, you get rid of Rape, dude. He's he's the alpha of NFL coaches, man. He's the alpha of alphas, dude. He's a leader of men. He's a really good head coach, and he's overachieved. It's like, man, it feels like he could have. Feels like you got like a young Tomlin or something on your hand. I know Jason's watching this. He'll scream to the roof that Tomlin needs to be fired anyway and all the rest. But
that was always a Miami take, by the way.
Another guy that consistently manages to just like lead his team and everybody respects the heck out of him and like always kind of ends up in the playoffs. And it's like, how did he got in the playoffs with those with that quarterback and with with those injuries and all the rest
in the world did the Pittsburgh Steelers make the playoffs this year?
And it's like what Harif's saying as a Colts fan. I love the dumpster fire that the Titans are. Yeah, well, look, man, and here's the deal: if they go out and they hire like a Ben Johnson and they do what your Colts did, Harish, and they hire somebody that's a good like a great play caller, like Steichen is, and I think Steichen's great, but he's still learning to be a head coach. He's still learning to be a head coach. He doesn't understand that he needs to tell his defensive coordinator, look, there are certain ways that I need you to play defense to where this is going to be complementary football that we're playing here together. Mm-hmm. And I can't have you do this during the final defensive series of a game to put me in this spot to where I got to get to where we got to, give them, on a 3rd and 20, give up a little 16 yards to them to where it's like, now whatever the Titans do, man, I feel like they're going to do something dumb though, because they're just like, it's an idiotic move to.
Well, this is the same franchise that kept Jeff Fisher for like 8 decades and then fires Vrabel.
It's just crazy, man. But he'll be a head coach somewhere. Talk about a guy to build the culture for the Commanders or whatever they decide to rename that team. I hope they rename the team and bring in Vrabel and just give it a whole new identity.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Okay, so Bama transfer linebacker Kendrick Blackshire is visiting Texas. So I went and I was listening to some Alabama podcasts today, just because if you want to go and watch film of him from Alabama, it's kind of hard to. It's hard to know which games he participated in on defense, because he was a sort of a backup as
a lot of special teams
defensive guy, more of a special teams player. If you watch, so he's from Duncanville. He's been there for 3 years at Alabama, and it was just this year starting to get to be in a role where, kind of basically you figure the role that he was in, if you think about it from like a Texas perspective, you probably saw him on the field about as often as this year you might have seen a Jet Bush or a Maurice Blackwell, a truly kind of sub-packagey extra linebacker, right? They also were talking about how he was banged up through a whole lot of the year, so it's kind of like it hurt his ascension there. If you look at the guy and you look at his Instagram and stuff like this, he posts workout videos, and he's truly an athletic freak. He's one of these guys that walks into a room and you're going to be not very there's nobody that's going to say that they're not very impressed by the way that this young guy looks physically, right? I mean, you look at me like, oh, well, that's going to be your starting linebacker. But I thought it was interesting to hear their kind of takes on him. They talked about how he looked like they say that he's always looked like a minotaur. I don't know what that is. What is that? Like half man, half? Is that one of those like half man, half horse kind of things? Like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell there, he's like the pictures he posts on his Twitter and stuff like that. You can see where he's wearing like the tank tops and stuff, and he's just like pumping iron. He's a stout dude. He let the school know on Saturday night that he wasn't going to be coming back and he was entering the transfer portal. And that's all you need to do is this year, it fell on Saturday. And that's all you need to do. You don't need to actually enter the portal by then, but you need to let your school know by midnight of the night. I think it was the 5th. Is that what it was? I think it was the 5th, Saturday night. And the news didn't break until earlier, this week. Everybody at Alabama was really excited whenever he committed. But it just never really came to fruition at Bama. These guys who were on this podcast, this Alabama Insider podcast or whatever it was, were saying that they wish that he would have stuck it out because there could have been a place for him at Alabama. And they were, they said that they were actually surprised in that it took this long for him, though, to enter the portal. He was kind of a dude who all season, when things started to go off the rails with getting a little bit banged up, they're like, man, he's going to enter the portal. He was out of Duncanville. He was a high 4-star prospect. There was a lot of buzz around him coming in, and he was somebody who everybody knew had aspirations to like he wanted to start. But they have these two dudes, Campbell and Lawson, that they just said he's not quite as good as Campbell. He's not quite as good as Lawson. So he doesn't have a spot, he's going to be in the same kind of role. He's not going to be a starter. And, they said, it would be fantastic, right? It would be fantastic for him to stay because it would be an awesome insurance policy for either of those guys going down. Like, you'd love to keep him, but you can understand that it's like, well, he doesn't, if he wants to start, he's not going to start there. What they did say was that just knowing Blackshire and knowing the kind of player he is and the plans that he has for himself, that he's going to another place where he's going to play, right? Mm-hmm. Because the reason he's leaving there is because he's not getting to play, right? So that brings up Texas and what Texas has with its linebacker depth, and why is Texas bringing in Blackshire? And let me just say, if you watch his high school film, you can tell he is big and he's strong. He's stiff. Doesn't move. As a prospect, didn't move particularly well. You could tell that he was recruited off of his highlight reel of big hits, big downhill hits, flashy tackle numbers, playing at a place like Duncanville, playing good competition, like a big offer list, looks like $1 million, comes into your camp. If he can move well enough, you're just saying like, well, gosh, this guy's going to be a monster Mike linebacker. Never came to fruition. And I just wonder what exactly does this mean that Texas is now bringing him in for a visit? Because I want to make it clear that this, to me, doesn't feel – this is not a Ben Davis. Ben Davis was worse than this guy, right? This is not a was there another? There've been other is Ben Davis the only Bama defensive guy that they brought? I know there's Billingsley, there's
Jai Hall.
Yeah, so
I think so. I think Ben Davis is the only defensive guy.
He's better than Ben Davis. I think he would come in and have a chance to work into the rotation, just given what Texas has outside of Anthony Hill. But it did bring it up. I mean, I did have to bring it up today whenever I was in the Slack channel and this kind of came up and we were talking about him. I was like, has David Benda even made any kind of announcement or made anything official about this? Because David Benda is coming into his 6th season at Texas, right? And generally, I mean, you see Barron Sorrell, he's like, everyone knows he's coming back, but he makes an announcement. Jake Majors, everybody figures he's coming back. That he makes an announcement. With David Benda, it's like, well, is this 6-year guy coming back? I mean, are we just assuming that Benda is? I guess we're assuming Benda's back. I mean, I
think that's the expectation.
I guess if it's out, it's kind of like no news is good news, or I guess, I'm not sure it's news that's going to make you dance in the streets that David Binda is going to come back, but it makes me wonder about like how the linebacker depth looks now with this, and also what it means about how the staff thinks about guys like Tausili Akana, Samaje Burrell, any of these young guys, Leon Golafau, any of these guys, Darian Gillette, these guys who are a little bit farther down, like are they not going to push to play next to Anthony Hill? Is Maurice Blackwell not looking like he's a dude who you would consider to be sort of that every down inside linebacker type of option, maybe next to Anthony Hill? Is Binda, or is something going on with Binda where maybe he doesn't, like he's saying, I'm giving up football, or I'm, C. Shearman says PFF graded Blackshire at a 90.8 on 109 snaps. Thought you'd want to know, Alex. Very, very good to know there.
Maybe. Real quick, Alex. Regardless of depth and how he is on the roster and everything, I have no opposition to adding another Duncanville guy. I say get all the Duncanville guys that are on the market, create that pipeline. If you can add another stake in Duncanville, I'm all for it.
I mean, I guess I get it. And I mean, Harish and Chad is saying that, Texas could really use another linebacker too. Could they? I think that they could if the young guys aren't looking very good. It's like yesterday we talked about it, and I wrote about it in my column today. I mean, you guys are the hyper informed, right? You guys aren't the kind of, like, what's the difference between the relatively informed and the hyper informed when it comes to what we take away from these moves and this interest in this kicking of the tires? Okay, what are the relatively informed? What are the people who are analysts that cover this football team who are on X, and the word comes out that Trill Carter's transferring, and they say, "Oh gosh, this is really bad for Texas's interior D-line depth," whereas the hyper-informed took solace in the fact that they were willing to let Trill Carter go. It's like, it's counterintuitive, but that's what the hyper-informed know, because the hyper-informed understand the dynamics of what that means, right? We on this show, we always ask, what does that mean? And like the hyper-informed understand what that means. What that means is that they like the depth behind him. They didn't throw an NIL bag at him. They didn't tell him, look, you're going to come back and start. You're like, if they were telling him that, it made you like, oh gosh, what does it mean for the rest of the roster? Are these guys really not paying? These guys must not be panning out. What does it tell? Like, what did the relatively informed think whenever Jaron Thompson and Keaton Crawford announced that they're going to the transfer portal, and Ryan Watts, who we found out this year's too slow to play corner, that next year was going to be slotted in to play safety? What did the relatively informed say? It's like, oh gosh, man, safety depth has just been decimated. You're like, no, no, you're the hyper informed. You understand that means they really like Derek Williams. They think Makuba's going to start. Yeah. They got guys like Xavier Filsaime coming in. They have Taff. They think Taff is pretty good. They feel good about what they have coming in. They understand that these guys, that secondary last year, can we just say now that the secondary last year was like it wasn't good? And I think last night
needed an overhaul.
Right. It brings us to last night with what the national championship might have told us about this Texas team, about this Washington team, and all the rest. The one thing that I always tell you guys about is Texas Beef Traders. I can't believe how good Texas Beef Traders is. And the best part about Texas Beef Traders off Loman Crossing, right there in the heart of Lakeway, is that whenever you go in, it's such a great experience, right? They have wine bottles that they'll crack open for you. That they have beers that they'll give you while you're there, just talking about the different meats, seeing the different selections. Man, Darren and Shay are some of the coolest dudes you could ever meet. But look, as much as I love Darren and as much as I love Shay, and I love going and hanging out with those guys, right? I wouldn't be hanging out there so much if the meat wasn't so good. I mean, it is amazing. Just like I said, just the other night I had the strip steaks. They give me these new steaks every time. Like we already talked about the picanha steaks. I have a tomahawk ribeye in the freezer right now that I'm excited to try this week. straight from Mason, Texas, processed right there. They get a new shipment in once a week, so it's totally fresh, processed that week. No GMOs, no garbage, man. No vaccinations, no inoculations, no commingling of the herd. You can taste the difference at Texas Beef Traders. And if you're gonna have trouble getting there, just call the store, man. Talk to them. They'll come deliver to you. The best part is, you can get 10% off just by telling them that you are a listener here on Football with Friends or a reader over on Orange Bloods. So, man, please check out our guys at Texas Beef Traders, texasbeeftraders.com. Your mouth is going to water just going and looking at their website. Texas Beef Traders. Love those guys, man. Gosh, I love those guys. What great sponsors I have. About the game last night, people were talking on the message boards about, man, why didn't Texas just learn that what Michigan learned, and that's to run the football, right? That's to run.
Mm-hmm.
God, Donovan Edwards looks like he could go pro. JD, thank you so much for reminding everybody to smash that like button. It's free. It's free. It's like, yeah, no small text included. Like, it's free to like the show, free to subscribe to the channel, and it helps us out immensely, man. I would really appreciate it if you click the like button for sure. If you want to get in touch with me, you can always get me, alex@rosterwatch.com. You can get Blake at skagsob@gmail.com for anything you'd like to talk about. Man, watching the game last night, it was just like with Texas. I said, man, these are some beautifully blocked plays, and this run defense for Washington stinks. And if you can affect Michael Penix, he's gonna turn into a little bit of a wuss. And I hate to say it. He was acting by the end. I mean, he might have been banged up. My wife was saying, God, did he bust a spleen or something? The way he's holding down there under his right pad, like something, a rib or something, man. Like, you felt bad for the guy. But I think the deal's with Michael Penix, you can't just pressure him like Texas did. You can't just you got to get a hat on him. You got to kind of hit him, man. You got to, even if you're not getting sacks, man, just kind of hit him, affect him, make him uncomfortable back there. And it makes all the difference in the world. And people are like, why couldn't the Texas stuck with the run? Why couldn't they done all this? Well, I think for one, it's hard. It's probably naturally a little bit harder for Sark. I think that there's stuff that he's drawn up in his initial script that he really wants to get in there. But that's not me saying I think he's arrogant or like he's stupid or any of the rest of it. I think that he has his initial script. He's a great play caller. He's figured out this play goes well with this thing. It's like these things marry together. It's like a meal, right? Mm-hmm. And whenever that script kind of runs out and you're like, okay, well, we're running the ball really well on these guys, then all of a sudden guys start fumbling. And it's just like, okay. All right. Well, let's go back to this then. Let's try this. It felt a little bit discombobulated, and then that third quarter hit, and with the whole time of possession thing, that really took the air out of the football a little bit. They took the air out of the football. They kept it away from Texas, and by that point, what are you down 10? You're a little bit hamstrung, and it's just they let the ball game get away from them.
Did you chuckle at that Jaden Blue fumble like I did? Because my initial thought is, oh, he's down, obviously. And then they show the next angle, and the ball was out like 5 yards back, and I was like, oh, well,
yeah,
he wasn't down.
Yeah,
he was standing up.
Look, I think that I think that Michigan to me looked like the better team. Yeah, they cheated this year and stuff, and I got to thinking, like, not only just like what could have been for Texas. It's hard not to think about how Texas would have matched up with that Michigan team. I don't know what would have happened. I do know this, that it would have been cool. It would have been expensive. Gosh, it was $1,700 to get in there. It was, Washington, to go see, a team from Washington and a team from Michigan play down in Houston. Imagine what it would have been for
the Houston Texas part of that equation is not that great. That's a bit overhyped. NRG, Houston, The wind was blowing like 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, well,
but the scene inside for sure is amazing.
Yeah, well, look, it's just like, it would have been very expensive for Texas if Texas was playing in that game. It would have been an expensive game to go to. So I don't know what would have happened. I do wonder. It's like next year, if there's no Harbaugh, Is this going to be a transition year? Because, God, dude, if you look at the number of draft prospects that they have, I mean, we said Texas has a lot of these guys. Dude, Michigan has a laundry list. I think this is the absolute perfect time for Harbaugh to get the hell out of there. You know that he has the scandal stuff swirling over his head. They're probably going to face some sort of penalties of some nature for this thing. He gets to go out on top. We just saw Wink Martindale with the Giants, the defensive coordinator for the Giants, and Brian Daboll have a mutual parting of ways, which to me is Wink going to get with his boy Harbaugh for Wink's going to be Harbaugh's defensive coordinator. And like he's going to the NFL. So they have, I think as somebody who would like to see Texas win in that game, I think what I would like to see least is to have the dude, what's his name? It's like Sherrod something. Sharon Moore. I think that would be the best to make him head coach, because he was the one that took over and was able to win the games when Harbaugh was suspended, and he knows the system and he can keep things relatively in place, right? It feels like handing the thing off to somebody that can keep the system going and all the rest of it, right? That to me would be something that that would make me more nervous about that game next year. I think if this is a team that's having to face some kind of violations, gosh, that sunspot's bugging me, having to face some kind of violations, and they're turning over a ton of roster talent, new coach, all the rest of that stuff, I would think Texas versus Michigan, you chalk it up as a tough game, but that doesn't seem like you're not playing that team that we just saw last night.
It's not going to be
like it's going to be a whole lot of different stuff.
It's also a team coming off of a championship, and just those teams rarely, Georgia a big exception, that just come out firing the next year and are a legit contender all over again.
I didn't want to get out of here without talking a little bit about Silas Bolden. Does Texas need him? This is the wide receiver out of Oregon State. And look, I watched him today, and I watched some of the highlights. I watched the game this year versus – oh man, I can't. Oh, Utah, and Utah's a good team. And dude, Silas Bolden makes plays. The thing, he's tiny, dude. He's really, really, really tiny. So Harish is saying 80 just made it official. So does that mean 80 Mitchell just officially said he's? I mean, 80 is, it's been reported for a week now, but I guess he's officially said it.
Maybe he put something out on his own personal account.
Okay, well, if anybody sees that, that's he was always going to go pro. The thing about speaking of the wide receivers, what does Silas Bolden bring that Texas really needs? They call him the they call him the Beaver joystick, because he does have that sort of like that kind of Tariq Cohen kind of human joystick vibe to him. But dude, he's like 5'8", 150 pounds. He's fast and stuff, but to me, you're looking at a gadget dude. I guess if that's the role that they're looking for, maybe a guy who could take the reins of a sort of Keelan Robinson type of player. I think maybe that would be the way that they would be looking at him. But I fail to see a way that he would mix in a group like this that Texas has, especially if they're able to land a CJ Daniels, out of Liberty, which I would be much more in favor of. C. Shearman asked if we can call him the Beaver Nugget. I guess so. It's kind of Texas-y, right? I think Bucky started here in Texas. Yeah, so you can call him the Beaver Nugget.
Here's that 80 Mitchell announcement, by the way, to both Georgia and Texas.
So, to dear Iceland, aka Twin, I think that's his daughter. Best thing that's ever happened to me and my reason for everything I do. So I'm writing you this letter because I want to share the news with you that changed both our lives. I'm officially declaring for the NFL draft. So good for you, man. He made it a letter to his daughter. I love that. Don't love that he's got all the Georgia stuff on there, right? But
I guess Alex, he's going to look good in that red of the Kansas City Chiefs next year.
Yeah, you gotta remember he was technically at Georgia longer than he was at Texas, even though he kind of feels like he's ours, right?
I'm just happy we get to claim him at all.
I'm happy that I get to claim Val Garcia as a sponsor and a partner of this show. But look at Val Garcia. Can you believe all the good work that he does for the people of DFW, selling houses at 0% fee to you if you work in education or work in the ministries? Look at Val. Look at Val. Here's the thing about Val Garcia too. It's not just if you work in the education or in the ministries where he's going to cut you a big time deal. It's also if you just tell him that you listen to Football with Friends, he'll sell your house up there for 1/2 price. So 1.5%. We're talking Val Garcia is going to sell you going to save you 10, 20K. I mean, like I've said, I've talked to people who've heard on the show to go work with Val. All I get is rave reviews about Val and Realty, Val Garcia, the people he has working underneath him, the 14 great agents he has all across the DFW area. They're going to help you with staging your house and setting up your open house and getting it listed and getting it marketed and getting you the best price and finding the right buyers and all that stuff, man. It's the culmination of a life's work with Val Garcia, and he's one of us. He's a giant Texas fan. If you know anybody in the DFW area that's looking right now, or even just thinking about buying, selling a home, you would be doing yourself just such a disservice. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars you can save by working with like the awesomest dude that I know. It's like Val Garcia really is the best. Is it Val and Realty? You can call him at 469-647-8729, or you can get him via email, valgarcia@valandrealty.com. Dude, and if you guys are up in the DF, oh yeah, so this is what Harish says. Yeah, 20 yards per catch. He was also, Cody was mentioning yesterday, what was it, like a 3.94 yards per route run?
Mm-hmm.
And yards per route run. I mean, that's like Tyreek Hill stuff in the NFL. Like that's like Tyreek Hill stuff. Yards per route run is the single most important analytical metric that we have for projecting future success and projecting future efficiency. Like whenever I'm doing my fantasy football models from week to week, yards per route run is the most important metric to use for your expected points model. So it's like, it's like the gold standard, and he was best in all of college football last year. So I think he's a little clunky out of his breaks. Like there's some stuff about his game that you don't necessarily love, clearly coming from Liberty, slightly lower level of competition, but
he did have 8 catches for 79 yards against Oregon.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, dude, just like his body size, his fit, to me, it makes a heck of a lot more sense for what Texas needs this year, especially now we know AD Mitchell is gone, right? It's just a red zone presence, an ex-wide receiver, a body, my ball, go get it mentality. Just feels like you need that guy a little bit more than you need a little gadget, joystick type of Silas Bolden if you're looking to just get one more wide receiver into this room. Unless, like I said, you're looking at Bolden as the next Keelan Robinson type, which I think will be fine. If you need a little lightning in a bottle, I think that's fine. I'm not sure how he fits in with the traditional wide receiver core. One other quick thing, just a public service announcement. You guys might not know, you're here watching the shows all day, but of course I love to read the old man weather message boards. I think we need to get ready for a polar blast, guys. So just make sure that you're prepared. Especially like if you're up in Val Garcia's area, DFW, North Texas.
Say you're from Miami and you're traveling up to Kansas City this weekend. Ooh, be prepared. It's gonna be cold.
I can't even picture what's gonna be like there.
I looked up the weather report, Alex. It's a high of 3.
Yeah. Well, they're saying like down here, man, just make sure you just go to just in case anything weird happens, man. I would go to Lowe's or Home Depot and make sure and get some stuff where you can put it over your outside faucets and what are those spigots, whatever it is, man. Kind of wrap those things up, man. Get them insulated. You don't want to deal with any busted pipes or any things like this. I'm gonna have to insulate my well pipes and all that stuff. And I would also say I think I'd grab some water and stuff like that in case anything wacky happens with that grid, because they're saying it could be like it's got some stuff that's 2021 ish as far as the temperatures. Now the models are in a little bit of a disagreement about how much precipitation that we'll see in Central Texas, but it looks like you guys are in Dallas, North Texas. You're going to be getting the ice and the snow too. So I'd make plans for that, man. Make sure and get some water. We don't want any of you guys left hung out to dry. with any of that stuff. Oh gosh, and then just the one other thing, the guy who I told you that went to the transfer portal, the catch was writing up in his in his weekly column, the 10 thoughts from the weekend. He just kind of did a roundup of the guys that went to the portal and stuff. But as an aside from that, he did a roundup of guys that went before, right? Who'd gone to the transfer portal before, back last season around this time, and what they've been doing. And a lot of these guys haven't done much, like the Troy O'Meary's, right? Andre Carrick was actually a part-time starter. I was interested to see that Logan Parr was a starter and was all first team all conference at SMU. So
good for him, man.
Yeah, good for him. But this one was the one that stuck out to me the most. Edge, Prince Dorba, transferred to Arizona State. He had 30 tackles, 9.5 tackles for a loss, 6 sacks, and 7 quarterback hits this season. Dorba.
Prince Dorba.
It's just like, Prince Dorba, man, we hardly even knew you. Dorba, hardly even knew you. It's like, wow. Texas could have used a little bit of that while ever he was here, but certainly congratulations to that guy. You love to see it. And I'd love to see all you guys here in the chat at Football with Friends, and love all of you who watch the show on replay. We can't thank you enough. Please make sure to like the show, subscribe to the channel, take note of the fact the show will be moving to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, starting at 2 p.m. next week. And we'll also be bringing back the Epic Modcast, which of course is, I don't know, maybe some of you guys who only watched this channel this year don't know about the Modcast, but previously it was the most wildly popular thing that we'd done, and people were complaining we couldn't do it, but it was just so hard because I'm doing a show, Anwar's doing a show, Cash is doing it. How much can we talk about really each day? But you're going to twice a week, you're going to get me, Cash, Jason, Anwar, all on the same show, as the Modcast does return this next week. So super excited about that. All very exciting stuff. Excited to have you guys here. Excited to have this audience and this platform. Excited to talk Texas football and football in general, except when I got to talk about Mike Vrabel being fired for no reason by these idiot Titans. For Blake, I'm Alex.